Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network and Woman of Inspiration. And this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast, where we speak with women who are leading by example, ignoring the naysayers, and inspiring others locally and nationally and globally. So today, a very special treat. We have Armineh Keshishian, who is our 2019 Woman of Inspiration Award recipient. And she is here today to share her journey and her story and her career path, which is super exciting. Also, Armineh, I know that you just launched a new book. So we're going to dive into that. I'm dying to share that with all of our listeners at a time when we're just going through such a great global transformation. I think that your message is so important. So welcome, Armineh. How are you today?
Thank you, Monica. Thank you so much for having me here. And hello, everyone. I'm wonderful. I'm very excited to be here.
So for those of you that are listening or watching today, Armineh is the CEO of the Wealth and Wellness Global. Now, what you have managed to do is you have fused wealth and the wellness piece, and you're doing it in a really interesting way. So you're taking all of your years of experience in financial asset wealth management, and I want to say, you've got how many years? 25 years of experience, and you've worked with leaders in the millions of dollars and managing their assets. So you broke free. So let's start with your career path, getting to that point, and how you made the transition, fused it together to build your new chapter of your life.
Wonderful. Thank you. I came to Canada with my sister, who was younger than me, and I was a teenager myself. And it was very difficult. We didn't really have anyone here. And we went to school, made some friends, and I studied business. After graduating, I stumbled actually into this financial planning, wealth management industry. And at the time, it was male dominated. This was like years and years ago. And I actually loved it. I'm very comfortable with money. I'm very comfortable with the financial concepts. And I just absolutely loved it because I met a lot of people through the course of my career. And I loved it and I loved it. But then what happened, I actually retired from the financial industry in December of 2019. And the reason for that is because I wanted to go global, because I'm in Canada, I'm in Ontario. First, I thought of probably expanding all over Canada, but then I thought I wanted to go global. Plus, I wanted to incorporate the rest of my knowledge that I gathered over the years, fuse it with financial planning and wealth managing, because the wealth is one thing, but the wellness component is a different ballgame. And I wanted to combine the wealth and the wellness together. And so far it's been very good.
So let's go back to, actually, I always ask this question, actually not always, but I think it's very interesting. As a young girl, sort of making decisions on career paths, do you remember, was there an age that you were actually looking at making, this is what I want to be when I grow up? Do you remember how old you were when, you had that calling to be, looking at this career path?
Well, I'm going to go a little bit further back, Monica. And the reason for that is that what we think about come about, as it has been told that way. When I was much younger, I was always imagining myself at a position where I can come and go as I want. I can make as much money as I want. And I'm always in a North American country somewhere, US, Canada. And that happened because I was able to get student visa right away, which wasn't very easy. And I was coming and my parents thought, well, maybe we should send their other daughter with me so I'm not alone. Can you imagine the sacrifice they made? Out of 3 children, they sent 2 out, and teenagers. My kudos to them. So when we came here, I went to high school for a little bit, and then I wasn't sure. I knew I wanted to go to university for sure, but then I asked someone, what do you think I should be studying? because I wasn't sure. I wasn't interested in computer science. That was one of the suggestions. And the second suggestion was business. And I thought, that's fantastic. I love it because I was great in math. I was always getting A+ in math. And it just so happened, I wasn't actually looking to be in the financial business. I was looking to be in advertising. I wanted to be an advertising executive. Sounded good. It didn't work out that way. I think life, the universe had something else in store for me. And I'm very, very grateful. It was fantastic. I met a lot of people and I was always good with my presentation and I always good with the trust because people trusted me right away. And then they would give me a few $100,000 in one sitting, in one appointment, or millions of dollars. And that was fantastic because I never betrayed their trust. And what happened was I was in my 20s and there were men in their 50s and 60s giving me their life savings. And I wanted to make sure that their retirement was comfortable, everything was good. And I made sure of that. It wasn't just about me making money. I wanted to make sure they were all okay. But what happened, we created a very safe environment and my clients always confided in me, always about their issues, challenges in life. And as a result, it got me thinking that the wellness aspect is missing in the financial industry. And I think they are just starting. There is a new association called financial therapy. And now wellness is slowly coming to the financial industry, whereas I have used that wellness theory, let's call it, throughout. But in the meantime, I have studied psychology, I have studied human behavior, I have studied universal law. So I have incorporated all of this into my workshops in wealth and wellness. And also it is in my book. Everything is in the book as well. So I'm very excited with that.
So let's go back a little bit deeper here, because when I think about wellness, as some of our listeners might think about, they might think about nutrition or exercise, but the wellness that you're talking about is more mental wellness and well-being, where your mind is, what thoughts that you're putting in, and how you're actually managing your money based on the thoughts and what you're telling yourself about money. Is that true? Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Sure, I can elaborate on that because I have a 4 cornerstone philosophy, which is physical, emotional, spiritual, and intellectual or mental. To me, well-being is that your emotions are well, your physical body is well, your spiritual connection with your universe, God, whatever that you follow. Some people follow religion, some people follow spirituality, some people it's just their intuition. So it's very, very, what's the word? Very balanced, although I don't like to use that word balanced a lot, but you feel well. So if I say, for example, how are you today? It's a common question. Everybody says, I'm well, thank you. How are you today emotionally, energetically, physically, spiritually, intellectually? You might say, you know, my body feels great, but I can't study at all today. I don't want to put anything in my mind today. It could happen, right? Or you say, I am emotionally excited, but physically my body is not doing very well today. Okay, that's one day. But if we keep this attitude day in and day out and say, physically I'm well, and you don't have to be very thin, very slim, just like everybody wants, and not eat whatever you want. In moderation, everything is fine. So you have a fit body that you're comfortable with. Your emotions are in place. You're not angry constantly. You're not in depression all the time. And you're just happy, content. And you have the money to do what you want. And also, not everyone wants millions and millions and millions of dollars. Some people just want to have a comfortable retirement, or they just want to have some money to put the kids to school, or they just want to have the mortgage paid off. So everyone has to, I respect everyone, whatever they want to do. And I think everyone should also think about what is it that they want? Like, what is it that you want? Don't think about what society tells you to want. The society tells you be thin, have lots of money, be married, have kids. Well, maybe you don't want all of that. Maybe you just want to travel all the time. Maybe you want to be creative. So you got to kind of get in touch with your own feelings and follow your own heart. I always say, follow your own heart. And if you're very passionate about what you want, you will get what you want, provided if you put effort, of course.
So those are really interesting ways of approaching money that I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about, Armineh. And, it's about, and I know you don't like the word use balance, but it's about looking at all areas of your life. And I would say alignment within those areas of your life. And then, that together opens up the floodgates for your goals to sort of fall into line. So do I understand correctly that if you were out of alignment with any of those areas within your life, it's going to make it harder, not impossible, but the challenges are going to be a lot harder to actually make the money and build your personal wealth?
Exactly, exactly. Because in order to create a lot of wealth, let's talk about wealth. If you want to create wealth, how are you going to create wealth? There are so many different ways, but that you need energy. You need emotional well-being. If you're constantly fighting with your spouse or physically you're not feeling well, you won't have the energy to pursue and work 10, 12, 15 hours a day, every day. So your passion might be kind of squished because you say, my physical body is not allowing me to get there. Or my emotions, I'm cooped up because I have issues with my children, with my spouse, with my parents, with my colleagues. And how would you deal with that? So once you deal with that, you say, yes, okay, challenges happen. In everything there are challenges. Life is not like a rosy road that you just travel every day with laughter. Of course, there's laughter, but there are challenges. So to be cognizant of the fact that the challenges are there and what are you going to do about it if you're very excited. So I have my 3Ds. I always say my 3Ds: desire, determination, and dedication. So I have a desire of, let's say, going to Mount Everest, for example. I don't, but I'm just bringing as an example. I have to have a desire level of 100%. Then you decided that you're going to go to Mount Everest. And then the third one, you are dedicated to your goal, to your inspiration. If you have those three, and no matter what, you will follow. Challenges will happen. There is no two ways about it. But then you're inspired to do that, not because somebody says go to Mount Everest. You couldn't, even if you paid me $1 million, I would not go to Mount Everest right now. It's not a desire. It's not even 20%. My uncle, my mother's brother, is a doctor in US. He has gone to Mount Everest. He goes mountain climbing every week, maybe 4 or 5 times a week, and he's in his 70s. I think he's in his late 70s. He loves it. I don't, for example. So I'm not going to follow his footsteps. That's why it's very, very crucial to really follow our own heart. Sometimes, as children, you were asking me, Monica, did you know that you wanted to study business? Not initially, but then I was very sure. And children sometimes follow what their parents say. My father wants me to be a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, or follow or take over the business because they have built it up. Well, if your heart is not in it, don't do it. You're not doing any favors to anyone. That's my philosophy.
Interesting. So let me ask you this. So if somebody would say come to you, what is one of the first things you would actually do to sort of share this philosophy with people? So how do you find out how they are? Do you send them home with a worksheet and say, please fill out these 4 squares? I'm interested to learn about where you are, because it's not just about the balance sheet, right? So if they give you the bank statements, that's only part of it. So how do you go through and work with clients to get that complete picture? Because it sounds like it's a little complicated.
It is a bit complicated. The only thing I can promise is that if you come with me, slowly you will get there, So the workshops, I have 4 workshops. So it depends what they take. One of them is how to create and build wealth. Number 2 is how to create your desired life. Number 3 is how to change your habits for success. And number 4 is how to be in alignment with your divine self and increase your peace of mind. So depending on which workshop you take, obviously your mind is there. But there are a lot of commonalities in those workshops because I will always talk about the 4 cornerstone philosophy that I believe in, and the 3 Ds. If you tell me you want to go to Mount Everest, I will ask you why. What is your desire level? Are you able to train 6 a.m. in the cold? Let's say it's -20. Can you run? You know, Toronto, Calgary is the same, probably very cold. Can you run in -20 degrees for an hour in the morning at 6 a.m.? And you say, absolutely not. Then there's not, how are you going to go to Mount Everest? It's going to be very cold at the top. There's no way. But if you say, yes, I want to do that. I want to do, there's so many things that a lot of people say, it's not possible. You can't do it. Don't do it. I didn't listen to anyone. And I knew there were challenges. I followed. So follow your heart. Because I believe in the connection with the divine. If I hear, I mean, some people might think it's hocus pocus, but I believe it. Some people believe in religion. I believe in the big universe, the God, goddess, all that is. And so if I get a divine message, could be my own spirit, or could be the divine telling me it's doable. Yes, there has been times where logically there was no way something could have been done. All I had was that faith, that divine voice that said, yes, it's possible and we are behind you. And I always operate that way. And it worked.
Well, I am with you on that. By the way, this is the Universal Women's Network. So I'm a believer, but I think you said something really interesting. It's belief. So you have to have whatever that belief system is that you follow. There's also the belief system of somebody believing in you, you believing in yourself.
Yes.
And so how important is that to be, number one, to have support for people to champion and believe in you and your vision, and for you to be really, really clear on what it is that you're doing and truly believe that you can achieve those great outcomes?
Excellent question, Monica. I think to have a great passion and inspiration for what you want, you have to also believe that you can do it. There is this saying that if you have that inspiration and that passion in your heart, because the divine is telling you it's possible, otherwise you wouldn't have it in your heart. Now, if I don't have confidence, because I think it works out, it's a matter of confidence. If I don't have the confidence that I can do it, that means I don't believe in myself. So believing and confidence, I believe they're kind of like correlated. So if you don't have confidence and you don't have support and everybody says don't do it, most likely you would not do it. But you need that initial confidence and the inner belief that you can do it. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows what they're capable of. Sometimes we don't see it because, there's clouds in here and we are trying to suppress it. But if we actually be clear of what it is that we really want, we know what we want. And then the question is, are we going to go for it? And so let's say that you are very interested in doing it, you believe in it, you have confidence, but you need support. That is crucial. And I'm very grateful that I am part of your organization, Universal Women's Network, because that is what you're offering, Monica. Through your Universal Women's Network, it's fabulous. I am really excited the fact that you invited me to be part of the Universal Women's Network and work with you, raise the bar and be an ambassador. That's fantastic. You're doing fantastic yourself. I am sure there's so many people around you who told you it's not possible, and see where you are, where you have come. So because the desire was in your heart. If you took that desire away, then you would have been left with nothing, right? So it was that desire that was the initial inspiration. And then you were dedicated and then you decided you were going to do it, and then you're dedicated. So you follow the 3 the 3Ds perfectly.
Well, I'm glad that I passed. I'm so happy to hear that I passed that test.
You had passed a long time ago before you even met me.
So what I do know that, and confidence is it's at the top of every single list when we talk about some of the challenges and barriers. Confidence is one of them. But what I have learned was that confidence is built. It's not something you can read and go, okay, here's what you need to do to be confident. You actually have to take action. And it involves failure, because through learned lessons, then we get, oh, I guess that's what we don't do last time. And then when you actually fulfill something, it's that sense of accomplishment coupled with, okay, I could do that. Now I could do this, right? I can take on that next. So it's like the building blocks, right? So you start, you achieve, you might fail, but you get back up again and you achieve. And it's building blocks for confidence and that belief in yourself that, it's you have to be surrounding yourself with the right people, because the right people know that failure is actually part of success.
Exactly. But I think the original confidence, it still has to be there. It's that original belief. And like when I was a teenager, I couldn't speak English. When I came here, I couldn't speak English. I had the confidence that I would manage. If I didn't have that confidence, I wouldn't have come. I believed that I could manage. I believe that I am confident enough to go to school. I'm confident enough to do whatever it takes. And for example, when I was in grade 13, I didn't know. I couldn't speak English, but I was looking at the formulas, math formulas, and I knew what the questions were in the class. So I would get A+, but I couldn't speak it. But I had confidence that I could take this course. I can do this. I can do that. Confidence can be cultivated, and it comes from courage. I believe the more courageous we are, the more confident we are. And as we succeed bit by bit and step by step, our confidence level increases, absolutely. But it's a matter of courage. And also there are ways to cultivate courage. And to cultivate courage, we take baby steps. So let's say, I'm not sure what example to bring right now about cultivating courage for something. Maybe you can ask me a question about that, but I can bring an example about baby steps, because whatever I want, I take the steps, big steps. My mother always used to say, you take steps bigger than your head. All the time she used to tell me. Maybe that translation doesn't make sense in English. It's like you always take big steps that it's just like not heard of. But I would always do that. And she would always say, take steps bigger than your head. But yeah, that's me.
And I think right now everybody has, nobody had a choice right now. It was this big step. We all have had to take that. So, yourself and definitely me, I've taken lots of big steps, and those are the only things I've taken throughout my life. And I think that right now, the way that I look at it, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, is COVID has allowed everybody that insight onto taking that big step. Like, we have all been given this great opportunity to see exactly how strong we truly are.
Yes. COVID, one aspect of COVID that I can relate to, because I have always lived by myself and I'm okay. The only thing I am missing is dining out and being in close proximity with people, because I've always been with people, my clients, my family members. So I don't have that proximity. That's the area. And I have always strived for self-mastery. I've strived. So I reflect a lot, I meditate a lot. And so COVID has made me reflect a little bit more, of course. But one good thing that came out is that I finished my book and I wrote the whole book. So it worked out for me.
And
I established my new business I established my new business, which was in a few months ago. Well, this is the year 2020. So, and then I wrote my book. It just launched. I got an awards, publishers award. So it worked out for me. I'm very honored and humbled for that.
And I think it's okay to say, you know what, I really took the opportunity to focus, and I love that word, self mastery. I think that's a really great word to use. And so if we can focus on self mastering things that are important and meaningful to us, we can achieve pretty much anything, just as you had proved. But I congratulate you. I think that glass is full and overflowing in your world, and I think you should be very open to being excited about how you've really the flow has happened for you during COVID. So, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. I really want to share a lot of the beautiful things that came out of COVID, that the downtime and cutting off all those things that we the noise in
Yes.
order to focus on the self mastery, as you say.
Yes, that's good. And I think you and I had this conversation at some point, Monica, about that financially we are not all in the same place. I mean, someone who has a lot of assets and their income is reduced or they don't have a job, they have assets. Whereas somebody who is making a smaller amount of money with 3 children and the spouse to support, and all of a sudden they're laid off or their income is cut in half with very little savings, then they're in a little more sensitive situation. And so to group everybody together emotionally, financially, and the whole society, I don't think that's a fair gesture. However, I believe that emotionally, a lot of us have been, have been influenced or have been affected by COVID. We are social creatures and we need people around us. And if that is not happening, that's very difficult. And sometimes when people are working, and if they lost their job or they have to work from home, and they're constantly with the children, with the spouse, and there is no space for them, that might be very difficult as well. So I think overall, everybody's handling the best way they can. And this is life. I mean, we were never promised a life that is full of roses every single day. We were just promised a life, which I'm very grateful for.
Well, thank you for sharing your tips. And I know that the Joyous Wealth, which is the name of your new book, 56 Secrets to Riches and Wellness, I know will be a really great read for people depending at all levels of their success. But for those listening, so for those that are struggling right now and that have experienced some great losses and are really worried about the state of their finances, and it's been really a struggle, what words of advice can you give those individuals to sort of help them through this process?
The first thing I would say is take an inventory of your assets. Do a statement of net worth statement, which is all of your assets. That includes cash, includes investments, includes real property, and assets like your car or your boat or your motorcycle. Take an inventory of your assets, then take an inventory of your liabilities and see what that number is. So financial statements are the number one key for a financial success, regardless. Number two, do a budget. What is your income? How much money comes in and how much goes out? Your expenses, are they fixed expenses or discretionary? Well, right now we can't go out for dinners, really. But if you're constantly ordering food, that's an extra expense that maybe you can cook. Or traveling, those two expenses I don't have anymore, dining out and traveling. So I'm saving a little bit there, but do an income statement, income and expense statement, and see where you are. So, but let's say that you have a little bit of saving or a little bit of income, and you don't really have a job or security. See how long can you manage? Can you manage 6 months, 1 year, 2 years? And that will give you some sort of security, a peace of mind that at least you can go on with for 6 months or a year or 2 years. This way, you're not constantly thinking about money and the lack of it. Now, if you have millions and less money comes in, you can still manage. And if your emotional well-being is tied into how much money you own, then there might be a little bit of issue there, that why are you so gung-ho? I'm sorry if I'm so candid, but why are you so gung-ho that a little bit of your millions are reducing? It should not be related to your peace of mind. You are not here to just accumulate wealth. If that is what you want, fine. But then if you take a step and say, can I be happy with a little bit less money? Can I be emotionally content? Can I spend more time with my spouse, my children, my parents, my grandparents, whoever? That is my view. And I hope that it's not too strong, that my words are not too strong.
Well, and I think that's a good reality check, for people that have the money, to be very grateful that they're in a position of wealth and that there's access to capital that they have, right? It might be not a perfect scenario, but there's definitely individuals that don't have the bank account to support them even 6 months. I'm going to say that there's lots of women right now that, are in a position of, have lost their jobs and they don't actually maybe even have a month's left. And so what would you say to those people that have limited supplies, maybe invested all of their savings into a business, and now that business that they've invested everything into to give a show, to give a go on, has been kind of disrupted because of COVID? So what would you tell those women, just to give them some bits of advice?
I would say do an analysis for 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months. So think of 9 months, but bring it down to 3. What income comes in the next 3 months? Is it guaranteed? Is it not guaranteed? What expenses do you have? And then do that for 6 months and 9 months. And then look at those dates, the 3, 6, and the 9 months, in comparison to your bigger vision. And what are you doing every single day? If you're an entrepreneur, like we entrepreneurs, we're always say money will come in because we're doing ABCD every day. But if you're always on salary, which some people are always on salary because that is their comfort zone, and there is no, there is no right or wrong. You like to be feeling secure because you want to focus on other things in life rather than being an entrepreneur. That's perfectly fine. Do you have access to that income the next 3 months? If you don't have a job, can you downsize a little bit? Can you cut from your expenses? Can you maybe move in with family, or move in with some friends? Can you maybe sell some things that you don't need anymore? So this way you feel in charge instead of being bombarded with all this negativity and lack of money thought processes. You say, well, I am doing something every day, and have hope. I always say, are you joyful because you're hopeful, or are you hopeful because you're joyful? Think of hope. Hope is something that we have a positive mindset towards. So we're thinking, oh, I'm not gonna die. Okay, if money doesn't come in for a few months, you're not gonna die, because what we do is emotionally we think we're gonna die. The body is a very powerful creature on its own. So we are thinking we're not going to survive. So we mix the physical and the emotional lack of survival together, and we get anxious. We get anxious. I know millionaires, they're anxious because they think they're going to die. It's not. It's a feeling, but you have the money. And so you eat, you're going to eat. If you eat every day, you're not going to die. You can sleep anywhere. You can sleep in your family's home, or you can sleep in a shelter if you have to. You can sleep in your friend's home temporarily, and then you can pay back in the future. I mean, if you go to the bare minimum, this is the bare minimum we're talking about. I am very positive and hopeful. This is my nature. I cannot go down to that bare minimum, but my mind, for an exercise purposes, I have gone there to see how it feels. But I always come on top because I am in charge of my life. And I like to really emphasize that if we always think I am in charge of my life and I'm going to do whatever it takes, I know there are challenges, then we're gonna elevate. We're gonna just keep going up. And we are evolving as human beings. One thing also I wanted to mention, because Monica, you talked about the support system, is the sense of belonging, that we need to have this sense of belonging, that we belong somewhere, anywhere, with the family, with, let's say, your Universal Women's Network, we are a family there. Or you have to feel that you belong to your community, so that you feel safe psychologically and physically, so that you can flourish. We flourish when we feel safe emotionally, right? If we're constantly thinking about survival, our creativity is stagnant.
And I think you get to the point where you don't even think about asking for help as a barrier, because you need help. Just ask for help. And I think, that's part of it, is that support system, asking for help and support. And if you don't know all the answers, it's okay. And I just did another interview with Cynthia, and, it was that mental health and well-being, and just knowing when to ask for help. And I think that the financial situation is another area where it can really, really cause havoc on how we're feeling, and take us down to a horrible state if we don't ask for help. Let's do a check-in and ask for help. Reach out to those in your network, say, I'm struggling, I need some support, and just even talking through that piece. Do you think is that part of it, Armineh, is just realizing where you are? Like you said, check your balance sheet. Not a lot of people are comfortable about talking about money like you are.
I've been talking about it for 30 years, This is a why. Why can't you not talk about your money, but you can talk about your emotions? But it's the same thing. Some people are not comfortable talking about their emotions, but they can talk about money. Whoever you're comfortable with, talk with them. Now, if someone is not used to talking about their emotional well-being because they handle it and right now they need help, they're not going to go and just talk to anybody. So look for people that you can trust. It's very important. Sometimes, unfortunately, people use your words against you in the future. Look for people you can trust, and that gut feeling. If your gut says, yeah, this is a trustworthy person, I want to share my life challenges with this person, yes, do that. If you don't, go for a walk, take a nice hot bath, do something that you're interested. Read a book, watch a movie, reflect, meditate, exercise. There are so many different things, because once we move the body, the energy changes. So if I'm feeling very uptight and nervous, I can just go for a run, or I can just do a cardio for half an hour and I feel okay. And then maybe you do that, have a glass of milk, have a glass of wine, have some tea, whatever works for you. You know what works for you. You don't need someone to tell you what to do. But be cognizant of what your needs are, your emotional needs, your physical needs. I remember I was talking to this woman many years ago, and she was having a problem with her boyfriend. And she kept talking and talking. Every single time we met, she would just, talk about the challenges. And I said, so have you told him what you need? She goes, what do you mean? I said, you're telling me what you need. Have you told him? She goes, no. I said, why not? She goes, me? Tell him what I need? I said, yes. I'm not a relationship coach, but it's like normal to me, right? You tell him what you need. You say, this is what I want. She says, oh my goodness, okay, I will do that. She was very happy it worked. So express your needs. Maybe it's not about relationships. Maybe it's with your children, or maybe it's with your parents, or maybe it's with your colleagues. Tell them what you need. And say, you know what, the way you're telling me do my job, let's say it's your boss, it's not registering because you're ordering me constantly. You're very authoritarian. It's not working. Tell me nicely. And you just say that. You're not going to be fired just by saying that. So express yourself. I like that. I always say that, express yourself.
So whatever that might be, that is, you find yourself with this constant gnawing that's coming to you, whether it be relationships or family or work or finances, addressing it head on rather than doing the self-talk and going through it in like a movie in your head all the time. Just address it.
Yes.
Change the energy and then clear it and then move on, because the energy when you're saying that you just, get up, go for a walk, or, just I find that sometimes I get overwhelmed. I'm like, I need a nap. And of course I can't take a nap all the time, but I definitely do switch it where I just sort of leave that work for at least 15 minutes. And then I come back to it and and you're right, you change the energy. So I think those are really important things for people to realize, that if you're thinking constantly about the obstacles that you're having with your finances, stop, go for a walk, breathe, give your mind a break, distract it somewhat, and then come back to it and ask for help. Reach out to a support network. And I have to say, I am so excited to have such a beautiful network of women that are successful in their industry, that have years of experience, and are willing to support other women. I think there's something so great with that. So thank you for sharing all of your wealth and knowledge with us, wealth of knowledge and wealth in knowledge with us. And for those listeners, they can get a copy of your Joyous Wealth, 56 Secrets to Riches and Wellness, and your very unique way that you are actually talking about your wellness with money as being a very big piece of, how you talk to yourself and the things that you feed yourself about your wealth and your
Exactly.
well-being.
Exactly. And one thing I like to add about the book is that the book has 9 chapters. There is a prologue and an epilogue. It's about 5 women who get together and they talk about the challenges and aspirations of their lives. We have from single moms with no money to practically a billionaire. And the book is like a mosaic. Every single chapter is a chapter on its own. You can just read that chapter, or you can read everything. But if you're reading, just read one after the other. And it's a beautiful, powerful story, I was told by many. And also, it will give you all the tools and techniques about money, about empowerment, about courage, about reducing fear. And all of these things could be money or could be about life, about anything. And actually, I like to offer one to one of your audience members. Whoever calls in the third or emails you the third one, the third person emailing you, Universal Women's Network or Women of Inspiration, to Monica, they will win my book.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to trying to manage that one. Thank you. My emails are already blowing up. How about we do this? How about we do this? For those listeners, probably the easiest thing to do would be to contact me, send a note to me on LinkedIn, and reach out to me. And in the message, say, I heard this interview with Armineh, and I want to be one of the first to get her book. So if you put that in the subject line, then that will alert me, and then you've got it. So I think that's a really great way, Armineh, but no emails, please, everyone.
Sorry.
Let's do LinkedIn and then put the actual subject matter in there for me so I can find it, so that I can fulfill that for you. So thank you, everyone, for joining us here on the Woman of Inspiration podcast with my guest 2019 Woman of Inspiration Cultural Ambassador Armineh Keshishian, author of the Joyous Wealth, 56 Secrets to Riches and Wellness. And if you loved the concepts, want to learn more, Armineh, how can they get a hold of you?
They can check our website, wealthandwellnessglobal.com. Wealthandwellnessglobal.com. All the workshops are there. And you can contact us through the website. And I'm here, I'm available. I love to help you. I love to share my ideas and listen to your ideas. And I love being as part of Monica's network. And we have very powerful women in the group and building. So I
So
encourage.
if you are a woman out there building, rebuilding, you're conquering, you've got big, big visions. Yes, we definitely would love you to be a part of the Universal Women's Network and, meet all these amazing women that we have the opportunity to rub shoulders with each and every day. So if you love the podcast, we say share it around, share the wealth, help us continue to build our network by sharing and by becoming a member of the Universal Women's Network. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, Stuart. Thank you, Armineh, for your time. I look forward to the epic adventure ahead. 2021 has lots of exciting opportunities, and it's going to be quite the journey. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on the Woman of Inspiration podcast.
And thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.